Usually when I start talking, people think that I'm going to speak with a Scottish accent, so I'm very sorry to disappoint you all. I'm Irish. Thank you all for coming back after lunch. Hope you really enjoyed it, and it's great to be back in the motherland and actually to experience the cyber community here in Ireland. You should all congratulate yourselves. It seems to be an amazing collaboration and community spirit as well, and I think Brian Honan does an amazing job bringing it all together, but not just in Ireland as well. He's over in Scotland, he's over in the UK, he's at Cyber UK in Belfast and everything as well. So well done to Brian, who pulls all of us together to do things like this and talk about other things that are going on around the world as well. I'm going to talk about the less sexy part of cyber. We are the Cyber and Fraud Centre in Scotland, and I took over as CEO the week of lockdown. So I didn't actually know what the company did. I didn't know who the people were, so I had to try and find my way and try and carve something and look at a purpose for the organisation, which had been a bit lost over the years before I joined. During lockdown, over COVID, we had a huge spike and increase in cyber attacks. So we had the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, we had SAMH, we had Enable Scotland, so a lot of charities and public sector organisations. So what we did is we set up an incident response line and also a training division as well. So we look at the NCSC, the UK NCSC version of Exercise in a Box, and we roll that out into public sector. And also if organisations have had an attack, they can call us to get support, and also for us then to deal with the police straight away and to get that kicked off with the cyber investigations team, who work really closely with us. And we've also got a list of 8 trusted partners in incident response companies that we will give them a choice in who they want to work with to try and get the companies back up and running again. Over the last year, we had a lot of fraud. And we've seen a huge increase in things like business email compromise, crypto scams. And I think if you have, I don't know what it's like in Ireland, but if you do have a cyber attack in Scotland, I think it's handled rather beautifully, if you can talk about a cyber attack as beautiful, because you get the support from Police Scotland straight away, you get the support from ourselves. If it's a public sector, Scottish Government, the Cyber Resilience Unit are there to help, and also the incident response partners as well. And Scotland's quite a small economy, so I call it the Goldilocks economy. We're not too big, we're not too small, so people will help out and they'll help you get back on your feet again. Where we're letting victims down, and thousands of victims and organisations, is around the cyber enables bit. There isn't the same way of contacting the police because the problem's too big. I'll go through what the problem is. I forgot to put on my slides. So we've had over 18,000 fraud calls into Police Scotland over the last year. 95% of fraud is now online, and only 17% of these calls get detected. So that's a huge amount of victims that are not getting the support. And all victims want is to get their money back. If you lose £1,000, you want that £1,000 back. I was at the Northern Ireland Fraud Forum yesterday, and they said 80% of people in Northern Ireland, if they lost £100, that would be detrimental to them before their next paycheck. Lots of victims are not getting supported. You are a victim of crime. It's the same as somebody went into your house and stole that £1,000 or the £100. You're still a victim of crime, but you're not getting that support. Serious and organised criminal groups are causing havoc in Scotland, not just the Scottish ones, but also ones from all over the world. And the criminal gangs are coming in maybe to move money around, and, they've got maybe hired some money mules, even students and stuff. We see a lot of Chinese students, getting moved around in Scotland as well. When the investigations do happen, the investigations are around individual calls and not the serious and organised criminal gangs. So we're doing individuals. We're not looking at the data, which I'll go on about. We're not looking at the linkage of the data. We're not looking at where these serious and organised criminals. We're not looking at the MOs across, the UK as a whole, not just in Scotland. And there's a huge cost to the Scottish economies. Charities are going down, businesses are going down, startups are going down because of the money that they're losing. They cannot afford anything else to go out of their bottom line with the huge cost of living crisis as well. So what we did because of the problem. A few of us got together, about 4 of us got together, and we said, let's do a trial. Let's see if by pulling a group of people together every Tuesday, can we talk about the problem? Can we try and move things along? Can we collaborate? And we're not looking at data sharing. We're looking at intelligence sharing. So that's quite, that was one of the things we were quite strict on. We don't know the names of these victims. If they haven't called the call into us, we don't know who these people are. So it could be, we've got code names, or we know that it's a woman age such and such a thing that it's happened to, or a man or whatever. And we kind of work it that way with the banks and Police Scotland. When we do get bigger and we do get funding, then I'm being very optimistic here. We will have to do some sort of data sharing agreements. But after building the UNICEF data hub for children, I know how difficult data sharing agreements are. And when you're starting to do that, you're losing focus on what the job should be at hand. So over the last, I put down 5 months there because we started the trial 6 months, but the first month we probably sat on those calls and looked at each other and went, well, how are you? How was your weekend? Didn't really have much to talk about. And then we kind of found the purpose and the reason for doing it, and the activity didn't just happen for that hour on a Tuesday. The calls then we were setting up multi-agency calls. The calls were coming straight into us, and the word was getting out in Police Scotland and in the economy as well, that we've got this service for organisations. So we worked on £10 million of fraud during the first 6 months. This is quite important, and I think it's something that we do clap ourselves in the back by, but that we've stopped or got returned £3.4 million to the victims. And that could be anything from business email compromise of £90,000 to something of £3,000 or £4,000. We had a huge scam, and I'll talk about it. And we think it's a known criminal who was in jail. And he has got out, and he's in jail for 10 years, but we think that he's now operating from a foreign country. And a woman was asked to transfer. She basically got a call to say that they were from the National Crime Agency, and that her account was going to be attacked. And she was asked to move 2.5 million from one bank into another. She did that. She did it all online. The banking protocol stepped in, and police as well. And they said, we think this is a scam. She said she knew what she was doing, very wealthy individual, and she did what she was doing. And then they convinced her that she wasn't getting enough interest, and what she should do is invest it into gold. What the lady then did, she bought the gold online with their help and support. They're very helpful, these scammers. And then the money was bought, the gold was bought, and it was transferred by courier from Leeds to outside Glasgow. The lady checked the gold, counted it, and then it was all packaged back up again by a very professional looking courier company who were all part of the serious and organised criminal gang. She signed for it again, and then it was going into safekeeping in a vault somewhere in Scotland. But actually the gold is somewhere in Pakistan at the moment. Out of that, they said to me I was a bit impatient, because I was like, well, you know where the guys are. We've got all the intelligence from the banks. We've got the number plate recognition. We've got everything we need to make some arrests. So there's 4 warrants out. And what I'm trying to do is look at the process on all of these, because the process is the painful thing that behind those warrants. I thought a warrant meant, and I work with police every day, but I didn't know that the warrant could take about 6 weeks or 7 weeks to put into place. And also you have to try and track down these people to the known address that they're at. So I'm watching it very carefully, and I will be watching all of these things very carefully and using them as case studies then to go back to the other law enforcement agencies as well down south. There's 2 million outstanding, and that's still going through investigation with police and ourselves, and also the banks will be doing their investigating as well. The scams are mainly crypto and business email compromise, apart from the big gold one. They're also the benefit of doing this trial as well. There's been a lot of fraud attempts. So people have called in with maybe some evidence of business email compromise. Nobody got to it was stopped because we told them how to do it. There's no reason, or there's no need for them to call the police, because the police will say no crime has been committed. But if we don't take those reports and don't take that data, we're losing hugely valuable intelligence as to where the end game is for these criminals. Surprise, surprise, collaboration with good people works. You get a room full of people who want to work for victims and want to do the best and want to try and change a system that has failed by no fault. You know, the police in Scotland, and I'm sure it's over here in the Gardaí as well, they've got huge challenges around budget. So Police Scotland have to now cut £20 million of their bottom line over the next few months as well. And now we're trying to then invest into things like crypto, chain analysis, all that kind of technology as well, data science technology as well, to make this better, but we don't have the money to do it. we're very fast. We don't have to talk about things. We can set a multi-agency call. If a call comes in, like the woman for 2.5 million, she was ashamed then to call the bank and to call the police because she thought, because they told her it was a scam and she didn't believe them, that they wouldn't help her. That's not the case. These people will help no matter what. But we did get the multi-agency call set up within 20 minutes. And also then we also worked with, she was an elderly lady, and we worked with her family then as well to basically make sure that she wasn't getting 100 calls from different banks. And also, once you've been scammed like this, how do you know whether something's been genuine or not? So if you've already had this and then people start calling you and saying, I'm from the bank, are you just on the suckers list again? And they think they did know there was more money out there as well. So we had to do it in a very controlled environment. The banks that signed up to it are Barclays, NatWest, Lloyds, Metro and HSBC. And again, Kieran Martin was given the banks bad rap earlier on, but I do have to defend them. They are absolutely amazing at this. And I think the reason why they've given up so much of their time to help in this as well, because they're used to talking shops. They're used to public sector organizations coming to them and saying, let's do something about this, and nothing really happens. We've got the proof that this can work, and they then have on their bottom line and also on their targets and KPIs as well, that they're doing their job and they're stopping fraud and also getting some of the returns to the bank as well. So what's next? We're looking for funding. So this weekend, we're doing the press release on the 6-month trial. So I already did an interview with the Times. That'll be out on Sunday, and the press release then goes out on Monday. So we're talking about this in Ireland before we're talking about it in Scotland. We want to provide a mechanism where emerging trends can be identified and communicated across the sector and to law enforcement. We don't have to have a physical presence. We know a virtual presence can work, but we can also then have a team of investigators seconded in, and we can pay for the secondment if we get funding. And delivering a proven model. We're not going out to look for funding to say this might work. We now have the proof. We've got the case studies. We have the money, and we've got all of the data there. We use Salesforce to basically collect everything and to be able to say this is exactly what has happened. And we're all ethical and honest people. So hopefully we can prove that if you invest, all we're looking for is probably about £10 million over 5 years. We've already worked on that in the space of 6 months. So God knows what we could do if we have the money and the people to do it properly. And also, because of my background in data science, I want to look at how we can use data science, how we can join up cyber security and cyber investigations with data science. How can we use the data scientists to look at the data? Where's the linkages? We want to stop criminals in their track. We don't want to be proactive. We don't want to be reactive. We need to be more proactive and basically showing that Scotland's not open for this. We've had a lot of crime that's got nothing to do with Scotland, but people coming in and moving money around. We've had crime that happened in Northern Ireland, and then the money mules moved the money around in Scotland as well. They fly in, they fly out in 8 hours. And there's a huge problem then in recruiting younger people as well to be money mules. The problem is so big at the moment, police can't get to the bottom of it. When they do start getting to the bottom of it, it could be, a relative of mine that might have 17, 18-year-olds, between 14 and 30-year-olds is what they're hiring. They could end up in prison for 2 years on the back of maybe getting £500 for maybe moving £5,000 or £10,000 for these criminal gangs. And we want to increase the financial fraud investigations. We want to look at that 17% and make sure that we're up maybe in the first year, maybe at 27%. And even to me, as an impatient person, 17% looks really, really low, but that's actually higher than the UK average. And the UK police are around 10% for investigation. So we know we can do it, and we know we can get the results. How it works, we've kept it really simple, and hopefully we'll keep it simple. So the calls can come in any one of these 3 ways. They can come in through the Cyber and Fraud Centre's instant response line, R1. They can come in through Police Scotland, and Police Scotland then say, well, we'll open this up then to collaboration with the banks and with the centre and stuff, and let's try and work on this together. Or it can come in from the financial services organisation that they may need. They've got the data, but what they're trying to look for then is police prosecution, which very rarely happens. And keep it that way, that we all just work, we trust each other, we share, we collaborate, and we do the best that we can for those victims. And the benefits, I think I'm speaking to the converted in here as well. So the landscape created to allow closer working relationships between government, police, financial industry, and also across I don't know why I put that in twice, the financial industry twice. So we know it works. It's not a talking shop. And we know that it can work. And we are more than happy if other banks or other countries want to come in, or if, Gardaí are looking at some serious and organised criminal gang that are operating in Scotland and in Ireland as well. Let's share that intelligence. We did work together for the HSE on the back of the Conti gang because they had attacked the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency. We were able to hand over some intelligence as well to the Irish government and to the Gardaí as well at that time. The cyber and fraud teams of financial services become more efficient at working together, which I think in the beginning it was kind of like, oh, we don't talk, Barclays don't talk to NatWest, Lloyds don't talk to NatWest. And I was like, come on guys, you go to the same pubs in Edinburgh, you know each other, you talk about the same things. These criminal gangs are working across all of the banks. And they're pulling the wool over all of your eyes. If we work together, we're not giving away your state secrets. You all use the same technology. You all use the same crypto licensing. You all use the data mining stuff as well. So there's no IP here being, and actually they then prove that it works and they go to the higher up in their organizations, and then the higher up then go, yeah, fine, it works. Let's, give it the green light and let's continue on doing it and make it better. What we want to do, and we had a chat over lunch as well, is around identification of assets in relation to the POCA activity. So you've got CAB over here. So the POCA is the proceeds of organised, taking the assets of organised criminals. And a lot of that in Scotland goes to things like playgrounds. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with playgrounds. Many's the afternoon I spent with my kids when I was trying to tire them out in playgrounds. But why are we using this money and the benefits? And we should be looking at where the pots of money go and how we can basically better the victim support around financial services and using that money better. And looking at emerging technologies, so data science, crypto, AI, the people were talking about AI in cyber earlier on. We've seen an increase in AI and voice recognition as well. So a lot of people use voice texts. Just be very careful who you're sending them to, because your voice then can be used then to transfer money and stuff as well. So I keep on saying to my kids, just text. And they're going, nobody texts anymore, Mum, for God's sake, and it's like, we just have to be careful with the technology. I'm a big fan of data science. I'm a big fan of machine learning, AI and stuff. But it doesn't mean we do this blanket approach and we just roll everything out. I've banned ChatGPT in our organisation until I can get the guys to use it better. Why I banned it was we're doing our board report, and every single person that had to write in the board report used ChatGPT. And I was like, what the hell is this? I'm the CEO. I don't know what's going on in my organisation from reading that. So how would the board? I wasn't a very nice CEO that evening. So I banned it and I said, come back to me when you can use it better. Prove to me, show me the areas, because it's not going to be used for lazy-itis in this organisation. It's going to be used for good and not to basically tip me over the edge. Crypto is a huge issue, and I don't know if it is in Scotland or in Ireland. I forget where I am. I was in Belfast yesterday. I'm in Dublin today. And it's just getting worse. But the good news is we've had some very high level arrests around the crypto stuff and crypto farming in Scotland in the last 3 weeks, with working with the FBI as well. And the FBI are waiting to extradite 2 people that we thought maybe were low level criminals around it. But no, they've been doing quite a good job of this in Scotland. So it's good that we can get them. We're doing some press around that to say that this is what's happening, because what I want are people to report the crimes. I don't want people to say, I feel stupid because I've just lost £15,000 of crypto. If you don't report it, we don't get the intelligence, and these people are getting away with it. And if we can then get the message out, which I think police and probably maybe the Gardaí as well were maybe reluctant, or even journalists and the press were maybe reluctant to report on this because they didn't think it was sexy enough. Whereas I think crypto is more sexy than somebody stealing £10,000 by phishing. And just to get people to understand as well that, as my old granny from Cavan used to say, if something sounds too good to be true, it normally is. So please educate your family out there saying crypto's not this be all and end all. I haven't seen any millionaires from people that I know that buy it, unless there are some people in this room that have made millions on it. Who our stakeholders are, Police Scotland and also UK policing. We'll have to branch out. We'll have to talk to other police forces, which will make our job more difficult, because then you're waiting for their processes and the way they do things. And we've now got into our own way of doing it. Academia, we want to look at, especially around the data science, around the ransomware stuff, all that kind of stuff. We want to bring academia in, and financial services in general. For the funding, I also want to go out with an ask to financial services and say, if we're stopping this amount of fraud for your customers and we have all the the data of who got money back and where the money was stopped, then you will need to pay for this. And it's going to be a charity. So it will be a charitable donation from the banks in to try and help the victims. Scottish and UK government. Scottish government is telling me they've got no money, so I'll just have to keep on barraging them. And if I go to UK government, they might give me money, then Scottish government might give me money as well. And business stakeholder groups as well. There's a lot of people not talking about fraud and kind of keeping it under the carpet. They talk about the ransomware stuff, but they're not talking about business email compromise. They're not talking about CEO fraud and stuff because they're afraid of this thing that, we don't want to talk about as reputational damage. But we don't talk about it. People don't know that these things exist. And everyone said, it will never happen to me. I can't say that because I see how sophisticated some of this stuff is. So please, everybody be aware. You know where we are in Scotland. I'm always here to help Ireland. I'm always here to visit anytime, work dependent. And, I think I've got 5 minutes left. I didn't think I'd even do 25 minutes, but if anyone's got any Q&As for me. Yeah. So that was internal. That's what they were using it for, was they weren't using it external. There's definitely no way that I would let that, especially with what we are. It cost me a huge amount of money to insure our organisation because we've got the word cyber and fraud in it. So anything that we use has to be, we weren't allowed to use Zoom and stuff at the beginning of COVID because of the UK government stance on it. So we have to be really careful. This was internal use. And I've got, as part of our team, we've got 10 full-time people. We've got 25 part-time ethical hackers that work at Abertay. So you can imagine everything new and shiny. They want to be able to use it. Whereas, we were all young and we all liked, I was the young ones. We all like shiny things, but what is the strategy for you using this within your organization? Is it going to enhance? That wasn't going to enhance us, and it was going to frustrate the life out of me and also our board members. I don't know if Kieran didn't. Is Kieran in the audience? Kieran Martin, he's on our board, so I pulled it before he got it. You there? All right. And you know who was behind it? Declan. Our head of ethical hacking. He's like, he doesn't really care about a board report. Anyone else? I can't see with the lights. That's the only thing. There's a glare on my... Yeah? Oh, Matthew.
Do you have the mechanisms in place that you need to get these fraud reports? Because I know in the UK, there's about 4 or 5 different places you can go to try to report a crime.
Yeah, so we don't use action fraud. So Northern Ireland and the UK use action fraud, and Police Scotland's never been part of it. I'm not close enough to see how good. So we do see the reports, but the one thing that I don't like, and please don't write this because I know you're a journalist, is that action fraud is too slow, and maybe that's just for me. If you report a crime into Police Scotland or report it into us, somebody works on it straight away. If you report it into action fraud, it goes into a call centre. When somebody has, we had one, for example, reported to action fraud in Orkney. So we were up in Orkney doing a cyber exercise, and a guy came to it and said, I had a business email compromise. And I was like, did you report it? And he was like, yeah, I did. I sent it into action fraud on Monday. I was like, action fraud doesn't work up here. Because he did an obscure postcode, because he was from an island off Orkney, action fraud didn't recognise the postcode. There's probably about 3 businesses on this island, so they just took it. And I watched it going through the system. We started the process with Police Scotland and everything, and he got his money back from Co-op Bank straight away. And he's going to be in the press release on Tuesday or Monday. I'll send it to you. But he, then it's taken 6 weeks for that call to come through to us in Scotland from action fraud. You're never going to get money back from the banks after 6 weeks. You're never going to, with faster payments, and I know there will be some guidance or some law and legislation around making payments slower. People don't want slower payments, even though they know that there's, the chance that they could be, they want faster payments. They want it happening. 2 hours sometimes isn't even fast enough for people. But 6 weeks to try and do an investigation, a bank will not look at it. The police will not look at it. They'll look at things, the low-hanging fruit, especially when the investigation rates are so low. But there is talk of Police Scotland potentially joining the new version of Action Fraud. The other reports we get is the Cyber Defence Alliance, so we get those every day. We get threat intel. That's one of the other ways of, because of the benefits of working with financial services. They give us their threat intel, which has been sanitized, which they pay a lot of money for. And we're not having to go through 10 different versions of threat intel in the morning. So we're getting up to the minute stuff from them. And also if there's some red bit of threat intel, they'll call us straight away as well. Yeah. Yeah. For the criminal gangs. Yes, we've mapped out, in Scotland, we've mapped out 400 homegrown serious and organised criminals. They might not be all into into phishing or into business email compromise and stuff. There's all different types of fraud that they're into. And then we've got the ones mapped out around the world as well, and we get that from the likes of the FBI as well. But what you're looking for is that data overlay to say, well, these people have got connections in here, these people have got, and it's not, they're not handing out employee legal contracts and stuff. That they break friendships. We'll hear of chat about so and so they've fallen out with this. It's the same as all the stuff you get on the serious and organised criminal stuff over here, but they use each other as best as they can. The thing that really worries me is how they're able to hire money mules and young people maybe on Xbox, or somebody saying, would you they see that somebody might be applying, they put up a thing going looking for a loan to try and help you through, and they're going, well, actually we can give you a part-time job instead of you getting a loan. It's things like that. They're doing it over Snapchat, they're doing it over WhatsApp and stuff. So it's to try and trace back as well as to how they're hiring people. There's a lot of work that will be going on, and it is about opening up the resources around the UK and also around Europe and the world as well. We had one in the summer, and it was Montserrat government that were done with a business email compromise, and the money was moved physically in Scotland by a money mule flying in from Spain. So that and then it was a Police Scotland problem because the crime happened on police soil. So, things like that we don't have any control over, but people are flying all over the world to do this. Yeah.
Just as a female CEO in cyber, any general advice for
surround yourself with good people. It doesn't matter if they're male or female. I get so much support. I think the hardest bit that I imagined my job would be was working with police. No offence to any of the Guardians, is male, pale and stale. And I thought they're going to look at me and go, who the hell is she? A young pup from Ireland telling us what to do and stuff. But actually, surround yourself. There's so many good people out there that want to do good things just like you. And also the younger people, they don't see that. They are, there was a few different things that might have happened in the last 3 years over sexism and stuff like that things I maybe have called out in the industry, and they're 100% behind me. So that gives me faith that the younger generation, they're so onto this and they will support people. You're never going to get... it's never going to be perfect. People say, does it annoy you? Does it, when you walk into a room and you're the only woman in there? I'm on there's a load of different cybersecurity boards. I am the only woman, but there is a female voice in there, and it's my job then to help get other females involved in it. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't take things personally if somebody attacks you, but if you're a strong person, you will, the good opportunity that I have as well is working with the ethical hackers at Abertay. So sometimes, and journalists don't write it down as well, you say, I'll put all your names in a hat and I'll give you an opportunity to speak at an event. I'll take the woman's name and go, you get up and you do that. And, giving people, and if somebody questions me on it, I'm going, guys, they're always the people that will never put themselves out first. It'll always be the men first that will say they will do it. So I can have a chat later on, but keep your focus, looking ahead, forget about the noise and the sidelines. That's what I think. Thank you.